and I'm going to interview him on Friday. But he doesn't have an audience, right? So my listeners are those who are about 20% of my listeners are practitioners themselves. But though, for the most part, it's people who are looking to get their health back and they want to be exposed to the information that is potentially going to be their life-changing thing. Like, all I needed to hear was that one sentence that the CEO, the original CEO of Whole Foods, said in that documentary back in 2008. I just heard that and it like went, oh, a health challenge. Okay, so my book is a series of health challenges that when you do them, you will start to lay down the foundations of health, and you'll see very quickly that you get energy back, decreased inflammation, decreased like pain in your joints and achiness, better sleep, mental fog goes away, things come back into balance because we're doing what the body needs. Just like you put oil in your car when your car needs it. It's that simple, but we weren't born with a manual, and we've been trained by, or we've been unconsciously manipulated by the mainstream media and
you could say propagandized. I think that's a really good word.
By the mainstream media and the mainstream medical system. You know, we thought that our doctors knew everything, right? Because they have that hubris, because they believe they've been taught everything, because their education has been manipulated on purpose by the pharmaceutical industry. So we just have to recognize that if you haven't been getting results and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's because you need to go to the right doctor. Now, the root word of doctor is docere, which means teacher. Your doctor should teach you how to be healthy. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I have learned from many really good ones who do actually help people get healthy. And I feel like I've taken everything I've learned and summarized it in my book in these 7-day challenges that allow you to, even as a busy person, be able to do them, which is the exciting part.
When you mentioned, getting over the polycystic ovarian disease, the number of women I have seen been put on metformin, like to handle that situation, and metformin has psychotropic properties and everything else, and we don't realize that to quote unquote fix something with a drug, like the actual things we're doing to the body in other ways, I don't think it's considered.
I have a client who, and I've known her for years. She had a very stressful thing happen. And then all of a sudden she started needing to go to the hospital and admitted. And she was having these attacks of the pancreas. So she got pancreatitis. And I kept asking her, like, what are you taking? What are you doing? Like, what's going in your mouth? Right. And it was an entire year. She lost 80 pounds, not in a good way. She could only drink fluids. Like, she could have soup. That's it. She was living in the hospital more than she was at home. And during one of her attacks, when she was at the hospital, I get on the phone with her. I'm like, listen, okay, I need you to tell me everything you're putting in your mouth. Like, what is true? We have to figure out what's triggering this, because the doctors were pretty much useless, not helping her get to the root cause. And she finally admitted to me, and I don't know why she was not telling me this before, but I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you what to do with your meds, but I'd like to say, like, hey, tell me what you're taking. So maybe there's a link between the side effects you're having and the drug you're taking. And she said that an endocrinologist had put her on, she's not diabetic, but they put her on metformin just in case she developed, it was the weirdest thing. Like, well, you might become pre-diabetic, so let's just take it prophylactically. I'm like, that's off script. That's not, that's not even what they've tested.
The same thing they do with cholesterol medications and stuff like that. Like I had a friend, he's like, well, you're 50 now. We should put you on blah, blah, blah. He's like, but all my levels are normal. Why?
No. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't want to say that doctors get kickbacks. But why are they motivated to put you on a drug you don't need? And my thing is, would you go to a doctor and let them put a cast on your arm if your arm's not broken and there's nothing wrong with you? You just went in for an annual checkup and they want to put a cast on you. Like, we have to start questioning these doctors, but we give them too much control because, again, this is part of the brainwashing or the propaganda that we grew up with. So we have to question. And when she said she'd been on metformin for about a year, so when the attack started, I went and Googled pancreatitis metformin, and then I Googled every single side effect. And you have to go deep. You have to go to the manufacturer's website, because there's this actual list that's a mile long. And the funny thing is, one of the side effects is hypoglycemia, and the other one's hyperglycemia. So the very thing they're using to treat it, it can cause, but it also can cause pancreatitis. So I said, listen, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you to get off this med, but you're in the hospital now for pancreatitis. You should tell them, hey, it might be the metformin. Maybe the doctor wants to get you off this. Sure enough, she has not had an attack since, and it's been years. And so I like to just highlight that if you're on a drug, 70% of Americans are on at least one prescription medication. If you're taking a medication, that means you are so sick that now this is, of course, if you actually had a problem. Some doctors, like you said, with the cholesterol meds, just like to get people on drugs just preventively. And I've had 4 cardiologists on my show, Learn Your Health podcast, all say that cholesterol meds before your first heart attack does 0, and it does more damage than good. And I could do an entire interview just on how bad cholesterol meds are. And that if you take cholesterol meds after your first heart attack, it has something like between a 1% and 2% chance of lowering the second heart attack. So absolutely low that actually several of the cardiologists said, metaphorically, dump that stuff down the toilet. Don't take cholesterol meds. It's complete garbage. It's very harmful to the body. But I digress.